At least it's finally over. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paydirt podcast. I am Tom Hannifan. He is Matt McGloin. Penn State falls to 7-5 to finish the regular season in 2021 with a road loss in snowy East Lansing, Michigan, against the number 12 Michigan State Spartans by a score of 30-27 in a game that we knew was going to be pretty evenly matched. And was just a very difficult game to watch in a lot of capacities. As I put it on the Blue White Illustrated postgame show, a season that came in like a lion and went out like a lamb. Thank God it's over. We are going to do our best to sift through some of the things that happened in this game. I know Matt's got a lot of observations in terms of the play calling. Obviously, playing in the snow made things extraordinarily challenging for both teams. Obviously, you had certain players who were able to get beyond that, but still, I do want to get Matt's take on what he thinks of playing in those types of conditions and what his experience has been like. And we're also going to kind of look ahead at what some of the bowl possibilities are for Penn State. That's not really going to be announced until the conference championship games are done in the coming week. So we're going to wait and see on that. And then we're going to kind of reminisce and look back at the season that was 2021. I think, in a word, frustrating. So first of all, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and turning on notifications, because the holiday season is in full swing and BetOnline has you covered. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your bonus. BetOnline has you covered with football, pro and college hoops, the NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the rest of 2021. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. The Paydirt podcast is presented by BetOnline, where the game starts. And of course, Funk Brewing is the official craft beer partner of the Paydirt podcast. I don't know about you, Matt, as part of Thanksgiving weekend, I enjoyed some Funk Brewing. I enjoyed it in the wake of this season. I know you did as well.
Yeah, no, Funk, look, they do a fantastic job. Funk Brewing Company, they're in Elizabethtown, they're in Emmaus. Their citrus is fantastic. Their Little Citrus IPA is great. I talk about it all the time now because I think it's a great winter beer. It's called Cozy. It's that cinnamon plum tea IPA that's really smooth. Their Silent Disco is one of their more popular beers that they have. They also, I don't know if I mentioned this one before, Tom, they also have, it's called a Fly IPA. It's like a beer for the Philadelphia Eagles, which
That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about.
Which I'm sure you'd enjoy that, being an Eagles fan. So check that out. But yeah, I was at, the grocery store / beer distributor the other day, and sure enough, Funk Brewing was on the shelf in there. So check it out. You can find it again at your grocery store or your local beer distributor. They do an awesome job.
Yeah. Head to funkbrewing.com to learn where and how you can get their fantastic products. Must be 21 years or older to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Well, fall is here, and we could all use a stiff breeze. That's right. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, confidence can take you far in life. It can also help in the bedroom, especially when it comes time to step up to the plate. That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable tablet and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so that you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door in a discreet package. Look, Thanksgiving weekend is over, and it's time to get off the couch and get back to work. If your tool needs an upgrade, head to BlueChew.com. If you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help, and we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code PAYDIRT at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code PAYDIRT to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the Paydirt podcast. My buddy JP says a big thank you to Blue Chew. So let's dive into this game against Michigan State. Actually, before we get into that, I do need to upfront apologize for my ranting and raving in the last episode. If you were confused as to what I was reporting about James Franklin's buyout, first of all, don't take me and reporting in the same breath. That is a terrible thing. As I was obviously desperately confused, as I think a lot of people were trying to read through the buyout with our half law degrees and such. So while I was correct about the fact that the buyout does go down over the length of the contract, that is if James Franklin leaves on his own accord. If he is fired by Penn State University, he is owed a tremendous amount of money, far more than his old contract would have given him. I am not even going to pretend like I'm going to go into the mathematics and the legalities of it. So that's my bad on my part, guys. And, thank you for all commenting and keeping us honest. I really appreciate it. So now, Matt, let's talk about this Michigan State game, because part of me that watched it was like, this just seems like a bunch of dudes on ice skates for 4 quarters. And at the same time, there were a lot of things that were a struggle to watch from the play calling and game management side, which has been just symptomatic of the entire season. What did you see?
Yeah, well, look, I don't care about the conditions. That's that's why you play in the Big Ten, right? That's why you go to Penn State. That's why you go to Michigan State. That's why you go to Michigan. That's why you go to Ohio State, Purdue, Wisconsin, you name it. That's Big Ten football right there for me. It's the same for both teams. So there really isn't an excuse, right? So it is what it is. I'll move on from that. When you look at this game, Tom, like I just want to go through a couple moments on both sides of the ball and get your reaction. And I just want to talk about how important, and again, I've talked about it almost every single week. So, get used to it. Yeah. I want to show how important situational football is, and what you do in those moments determine whether you win or lose. Because time and time again, like it just, for me, maybe, whatever, it doesn't seem like James Franklin truly understands situational football. I just, again, I'll start here before I get into it. Purdue beat Michigan State. They ran 85 plays, over 50 passes. Ohio State ran 86 plays, 43 passes. Penn State ran 60 plays. You got beat down in time of possession. This is arguably the worst passing defense in the nation, right? And you only threw the ball, 34 times, Tom?
34
something like that?
34 times.
Yeah. So for me, like, so much of game planning is taking a step back and saying, okay, what has beaten this team this year? Right? Again, this is another thing I've talked about a lot. Problems that teams have last week or even a few weeks ago. Michigan State gave up 56 points to Ohio State. You gave up over 500 yards passing to Purdue. Those problems don't go away for your defense, Tom. Sure, you can make adjustments and corrections and fix things here or there, but the root of those problems still remain. And they still remain for Michigan State. So I thought it should have been a throw heavy game plan. Again, I don't care about the conditions. It is what it is. And Clifford threw the ball well too at times in that weather. So like pass heavy. I don't care about the run and protect the quarterback. That's it. When you gave up 4 sacks, there was multiple hurries in that game. It's just like when you watch that stuff, Tom, it's almost like it's like a stubborn, like there's like a stubbornness to it. Like you go into a game thinking, well, this is what we're going to do. This is what we do as an offense. This is how we're going to try to win this game. And, we really don't care what somebody else has done to beat this team. And for me, that doesn't make sense because that's how it works. What are their weaknesses? Who's exposed them this year? That's great. Let's use what has exposed them, and let's find what's inside of our offense that we can use that can cause the same problems to this defense, Tom.
So you had the opportunity to play under Bill O'Brien, and I start there because his experience with the New England Patriots, it speaks to the adaptability of offenses. Now, granted, that's Bill Belichick working in tandem with Bill O'Brien, and that was that dynasty of the Patriots, frankly, they're still in it, is that they were able to change the game plan every single week. Was that your experience under Bill O'Brien?
Yeah, like we had a stable of plays. You know what I mean? Like good solid plays that we ran.
Your
But
base, sure.
yes, your base. But there was always stuff that was being implemented throughout the course of the week. Like, hey, we think this could work this week. Hey, Matt, like, what did you see? You know, watching film or stuff like that you like this week, we could use that may work. Hey, you know what? They have trouble with shifts and motions, so we're gonna run this base concept still. But guess what we're going to do? We're going to shift motion. We're going to confuse them, change up the looks because they have trouble, calling out formations and things like that defensively. So it's always something like you're still running your offense, but like you have to incorporate the things that makes that defense struggle, right? What's their weakness? Find it and use it against them. I just don't think Penn State did that enough on Saturday, Tom. And like the whole, like every time there's a fourth down too, like
we talked about it all season. Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think the first one of the game, the 4th and 1, like that's fine. I like not going for it and punting it away.
And because of the conditions for both teams, you could see that they were plenty of times where both teams were like at field goal range and they're like, the guy can't even get his footing. So you understand that.
I got like that. I was fine with it early in the game on the road, right? You don't want to go down. You don't want to give them the ball in your territory and go down 14-0. Like again on the road, which is what happened anyways. But at least they had to drive, the whole entire field, and they had to work for it to get it. But like again, every time there's a fourth down, it's like, oh no, what's going to happen? What are they going to decide to do here? And I get why Penn State gets criticism for that, because every single week, like there's no rhyme or reason as to why they do it or why they go for it. And I feel like you're just guessing. Right? You have to pay attention to the way the game feels, the atmosphere of the game, the situation, where you're at. You can't continue to rely on the analytics of the game, right? Oh, what does the stats say I should do here? Like it doesn't always work on that, right? What is this moment telling you, right? How are we throwing the football today? How are we running it today? How have we been over the past week or two on fourth down? How is this defense, in certain situations on the field? Right? What's their weakness? What's the tendencies of this defense in certain areas of the field? Right? I kind of feel like, Tom, it's just a lot of times it's been, it's fourth down. Let's just go for it here. Oh, hey, let's punt it. Right? Too many times it feels like it's just a guess.
It feels reactionary. It feels emotional as opposed to measured and calculated and a field general being able to remove himself from the situation and play the game of chess as opposed to checkers. And listen, it's an emotional game. I think we say that till we're blue in the face. It's one of the oldest cliches about football. That's true for players and the coaches. I don't think there's one head coach at any level that can say they haven't gotten ticked off about something in the moment and you make a silly decision or you just don't react as you would if you were calm. And those things happen, but they happen all the time. And it feels like, Matt, when I watch James Franklin make decisions for fourth down plays, it reminds me of when I play Madden and I'm just like, F it, I'm going for it. Which is not a good game plan. Fine on my PlayStation, not okay with what is supposed to be one of the best programs in the country.
Yeah, and that's where I'll start here kind of with some of these moments in the game and situations in the game. So let's start with that 3rd and 7, right? The whole 3rd and 7 run up the middle is just that's inexcusable, right? You can't do that. And like that right there, Tom, that call was, all right, we're going for it on 4th down. So let's just run it on 3rd down, which I don't agree with. Why try to wait and get it on 4th down? Right. Let's throw it on 3rd and 7. Let's just try to get it here on 3rd down. And guess what? If it's not there, your quarterback that has over 30 starts in his career should know enough to check the football down and get you to a 4th and manageable. Right? That's what that is. So, all right, great. Kevon Lee gets 6 yards. So now it's 4th and 1, Tom. And here we go. Shotgun, inside zone. Let's have our 235-pound running back start from a stationary position with no momentum. Like that's something we've talked about all the time. Like these 4th down moments, the short yardage, the goal line, constantly being in the shotgun. I'm a big believer in like playing the game underneath center. Like I'm a huge believer in that.
That is, I thought of you at the beginning of the third quarter because Kevon Lee, to his credit, was starting to get going. I
Yeah,
think
he ran
people
it
were
well.
saying
Yeah.
he ran well. He was dancing a little bit, and that's been kind of his problem his entire time at Penn State is that he tries to make too many moves when he can be a really devastating north-south runner if he bothers to do it correctly. But he was having success, and my first thought that came into my mind, I was like, start of the third quarter, imagine if Penn State went under center and went with some tighter line splits and went with I backs or just, an ace back or something and just tried to run it into the interior of Michigan State. They were having success.
I'm not against the shotgun. I love the shotgun. It's fine. Like it's great. But like again, I'm a huge believer, and you have to be able to play the game under center at some point in time. Tom, if I was in the shotgun in that situation, I would have walked up, got under center, and I would have been able to sneak it for 3 yards with that look and that front Michigan State was running. Like, it's hard, Tom. And again, like I always talk about handing the ball to your running back in a stationary position because here's why. Mike Miranda got crushed back into the backfield. Drew Scruggs didn't block anyone on that play. So like, there's just like, he's getting the ball and guys are already in the backfield on top of him. And like, it's like, this is like, it's like high school football stuff that they're doing in moments like that. Like I just like, I said it earlier, it's almost this stubborn thing that they're doing rather than just saying, all right, we've been wrong. We've struggled in these moments, right? Let's start playing from under center. Hey, Sean, if you've got 2-3 techniques or you got a shade and a 3 technique and there's a gap there to the right side, just, tap your center, make a call and sneak it. Like, it's like, I couldn't tell you. I think we did that. Like Penn State, like obviously, like I'm just so confused over the whole thing. But it's like my senior year at Penn State, I probably between 25 and 30 times I probably did a QB sneak. That is a huge strength to have on your offense for moments like that.
To continue to rely, especially on the quarterback dive straight up the gut. Considering that, like, we know what Sean Clifford is as a runner at this point. The one to the outside, I think it was 3rd and long. I can't remember exactly. It was in the second half where Sean was trying to run to the boundary and nobody really blocked it very well. But like, in what world is Sean Clifford going to beat anybody in the Big Ten defensively to the edge, get the corner, and get the first down? There were a lot of play calls in terms of quarterback draws that I was just like, listen. I am going to give a little bit of credit to the fact that you're playing in the snow. So you've got, to your point, Kevon Lee and Sean Clifford, 2 guys who are not about acceleration. And you're asking them to do that from the shotgun multiple times per game to the point that it felt like, and I don't want to make the comparison, but I will, the Kirk Sirocco offense, where it was just, well, we'll go in the shotgun, we'll hand it off, and we'll run in the A gap and the B gap, and we'll just see what happens. And it's like, that's not what we expected with Mike Yurcich. So it's very challenging to see that is what played out.
No, yeah, you said it perfectly, Tom. This is not what I expected to see from Mike Yurcich. And I'm a big fan of Mike Yurcich. I really am. I think he's a good quarterback coach. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. It's just some of the stuff we're seeing is not what I expected. And even like, again, like 23-20, they get the ball back even after that 4th down stop. And there's a 3rd and 1. There's 5 Michigan State defenders in the box, Tom. Like, you should be able to run for 20 yards versus that look, right? Again, Drew Scruggs doesn't block anybody. I'm not picking on him, but that's just what happened. He didn't block anybody.
And Michigan State was daring them to do it all day. The
exactly.
safeties were just hanging out and saying,
these guys, like this offensive line, they cut the nose tackle loose. Kevon Lee fumbles. Like, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, man. Again, Michigan State's in the backfield before Lee even got the ball. Like somewhere along the line, like during self-scouting or even when you like break the film down in the off season, like you gotta know, like stuff like that, short yardage, goal line situations, like you've been brutal there. Like, and I just think like, I feel like they just think like, oh, that's what we do. That's just the way it is. Like, bro, it's not. That's not. You got to be able to make the changes. You got to make adjustments in this game. And Tom, they haven't done any of that.
And I do put myself in Mike Yurcich's shoes for a moment and be like, well, I can't name one thing the guy hasn't tried this season. So there's got to be part of him that's just like, I can call anything and it might not work. There's got to be immense frustration. And again, that comes back to a vicious cycle of recruiting problems. And in terms of the way this offensive line is structured has been a problem the entirety of the season. And if you don't have anything there from pass protection or run blocking, nothing really works. And that's been unfortunately the problem all season long. And we've seen that for a number of years already of Penn State football. I do want to ask you about some of the play choices and the game management decisions, especially in the fourth quarter when the game was winnable for Penn State. We are going to kind of look at what the bowl season could look like, and we're also going to take a look back, unfortunately, at 2021. But before we do that, we want to let you know that all of us involved here in the Paydirt podcast are proud supporters of Thon, also known as the Penn State Dance Marathon. Thon is a year-long effort dedicated to raising funds and awareness for its sole beneficiary, 4 Diamonds at Penn State Health Children's Hospital. Thon is the largest student-run philanthropy in the world, committed to enhancing the lives of children and families impacted by childhood cancer. 4 Diamonds picks up where insurance leaves off to relieve financial stress and provide emotional support so that no family ever has to see a medical bill. Since 1973, Thon has raised over $190 million in the fight against childhood cancer. To learn more about Thon or to donate, visit thon.org. That's thon.org. It's all for the kids. Make a difference in the life of a child today. And on another personal note, we want to take this opportunity to put a spotlight on mental health with a new initiative called Tag Me In. Tag Me In is simply asking for people to tag in on the conversation and help strip away the stigma around mental health. Whether you're looking to lend support, you want to talk, you want to share, maybe you need some help. We invite you to join in on the conversation. We encourage you to make a video if you'd like, post it on your social media channels, and use hashtag #TagMeIn and hashtag #TagMeInUnited. At the very least, we want to hear from you. You are not alone. Tag me in. Visit tagmeinunited.com to learn more. Say goodbye to dull gifts. Lightbox lab-grown diamonds are the brightest gift of the year. Using cutting-edge technology and innovative techniques, they've cracked the science of sparkle, creating the highest quality lab-grown diamonds you can find at a light price, $800 per carat. They have the same chemical makeup of natural diamonds, but just are grown in a lab. Because of their process, they can create stones in blush pink and beautiful blue, as well as classic white. Lightbox lab-grown diamonds are the gift they'll never want to take off. Priced so they won't have to. They really do make any outfit sparkle. Visit lightboxjewelry.com to add sparkle to your holiday shopping. That's lightboxjewelry.com. Lightbox diamonds. Never a dull moment. Okay, the fourth quarter, Matt. I want to start with icing your own kicker. Thoughts?
You go ahead. It sounds like you have something to say. Go ahead.
Well, for a moment, I was like, well, he must want to regroup and talk about something. And maybe, just maybe, he wants to run a fake. And I was like, please don't run a fake. And then to see the indecision, really, we saw Jordan Stout, we saw Jake Pinniger, and it was like, we hadn't seen Jake Pinniger all season long. Like, why are you waiting until the last game of the season that now you're thinking about kicking questions? Like, is the snow that bad? Was Stout injured in some capacity? I'm sure James Franklin talked about it after the game, but I did not listen to the man speak, so whatever. But like, what the hell?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I just think we've talked again. Like, we've talked about this before on the show. Is it I think it's a confidence thing, right? It's not believing in your kicker, not believing in your players. I don't know. I don't know what. Yeah, I just don't understand it at this point. Like, I mean, I think about again, I brought up 2012 already on this show. I'll bring it up 2012 again. The second game of the season where Sam Ficken struggled, where we lost at Virginia. Bill O'Brien publicly stated that, we're sticking with Ficken, right? He's our guy. He's our kicker. And Ficken went on to have a fantastic year, made a lot of changes to his kicking game, and he won the Wisconsin game for us at the end of the year, right? The field goal kick in overtime. You know what I mean? Like some guys, man, they need support. They need somebody to tell them like, hey man, you're able to bounce back. You're fine, right? You could get the job done. I just think, there's been a few times and a few moments throughout this season, Tom, where there's just like, he hasn't had that confidence in the kick game that I think kickers expect to have and kickers need.
I've said it before. Jordan Stout's a great punter. I don't think he's that good of a kicker. And this obsession that has been recent with James Franklin and the special teams group is that having one guy do all the duties, does that have to be the answer every single year?
It's a lot, man. I mean, I think it's got to be a lot, right? Kicking field goals, kicking off, punting the football. Yeah, it's definitely a lot. I mean, I wouldn't know how much of a toll that takes on you. It takes on your leg. I'm not a kicker. I mean, I kicked a little in high school, Tom. Field goal kicker a little bit. I made one in the state playoffs actually. But okay. But no, man. Like I don't know. But look, it is what it is, and he's been doing that the whole year. So, I mean, obviously, it hasn't been a problem for him. But I think it's a confidence thing. I think it's a mental thing. And I think when you're dealing with players like that, quarterbacks, kickers, where the mental game is very important and it's crucial to your success, you got to be there to build confidence on those guys and support those guys, regardless of whether they're throwing the football well, kicking the football well, or whatever it may be. You got to support those guys and put your trust and your faith in them.
So we've talked about the Penn State offense and their special teams. The Penn State defense, it just felt like they had hung on all season long, and it was just the end of a very long road. Not a lot was playing in their favor. Credit to Daquan Hardy coming up with a pick six, virtually the only real signs of life in the second half for the entire team.
He's had a good year. He's had a really good year.
He's had an excellent season. Yeah, he has a bright future ahead of him, and I was thrilled to see that happen for him. But it was like that was the only scoring for quite some time in the second half for Penn State, and it just actually there was another one down the stretch. Excuse me, but just. I wasn't even mad about the way the defense played again. I do factor in playing in the snow for these guys, trying to play anything in zone, trying to tackle in space. Guys like Brandon Smith had a really rough day. Tig Brown had a rough day. And it's like, it's not like you just absolve them and you move on, but it just kind of was like, man, they fought their butts off all season long. The only reason Penn State won 7 games this year is because of that defense. And it just felt like the end of a very long season. They were out of punches to throw.
It's a tough one for them because of the style of offense Michigan State has, right? I mean, Kenneth Walker,
bad matchup for Penn State.
Yeah, it's he's going to run the football tough. He was going to get 25 to 30 carries. I think he had 31 carries. But yeah, that's a tough matchup, not just for Penn State, but for anyone really. But again, we're talking about situations, we're talking about moments on today's show, and 20-17, Tom. There's 3:42. I think was it the third quarter now? Whatever. It was the 3rd and goal from the 13. The flag on Joey Porter. It looked like man coverage, and for me, it's why. And I'm not picking on Pry because he's done a fantastic job all year. Obviously, we talk about him every single week, the job he's done, how important he is to the success of this team and the success of that defense. But there were a couple moments where I kind of just disagreed. That's all. So flag on Joey Porter looked like it was man coverage. Why? Play zone. Porter, for how good he is, he has struggled over the past few weeks, especially with flags, pass interference calls, right? They get the flag. Again, it was 3rd and long from the 13, touchdown a few plays later, huge moment in the game. I bring that one up because later in the game, it's 23-20 Michigan State, Tom, the 4th and 15 from the 20. What do you think Michigan State is going to do there? They're throwing for the end zone, right? Like drop 8, play prevent. Penn State was like in a low quarters look, like a low cover 4. Jaden Reed on Johnny Dixon one-on-one. Reed is one of the best big play wide receivers in the Big Ten. Nothing against Johnny Dixon, but he's got 7 tackles and 2 passes defended on the year, Tom. I was just so confused over that coverage in that situation, in that moment. Touchdown Michigan State, 30-20, games essentially over at that point. So it's small things like that hurt Penn State Saturday and have hurt them throughout the year.
I want to come back to what you were saying about Joey Porter Jr., just because I think you and I both agree. The guy has enormous talent.
Yes.
Tremendous potential. The guy's going to play on Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
But his issues are at the points of contact, and then late in the play, it just seems like he gets nervous, and that's why he gets handsy, for lack of a better term, and that's why he draws penalties. So
he knows he's good. He knows he's good.
So
you know what I mean?
He knows he's good. In the offseason, do you just tape his hands to his chest and have him go through practice like this is Little Giants or something like that, and be like, "Hey, don't touch him"?
Look, obviously, I've never played defensive back before. I've never, coached out of the defensive side of the ball or anything like that. But I think it's just him continuing to grow, continuing to develop, continuing to learn how to play the position the right way. Him understanding and knowing that he's good is huge, because again, that's a big confidence thing for him, knowing he can shut down any wide receiver, because he's very capable of doing that. And he's done a great job all year. But I think like when a guy gets up on him, attacks his technique, right? He's just so concerned with stopping somebody, right? That he's trying to force them to redirect, or force them to not get open, or force them to not create separation. And it's causing these holding and these PI calls against him, Tom. But look, for how fast he's developed, there's no doubt a guy like that is going to be able to make those corrections very easily.
Very excited to see what his future is all about. And part of, looking to the future, I think Penn State fans need to take a moment to be appreciative of what is soon to become its past. And I mean, a lot of guys that may not be a part of the program next season, either because of graduation or going to the NFL. I'm looking at guys like Johan Dotson, who had a fantastic game against Michigan State. Was banged up a little bit earlier in this season, but still finishes the season with over 1,000 yards, receiving, 83 catches, 10 touchdowns, I believe. Hell of a season. The guy's going to have a great career in the NFL if he can stay healthy and he finds the right situation, obviously. Personally, watching the game, I felt bad for guys like him, for guys like Jaquan Brisker, who've fought their butts off. Those guys are going to be fine in terms of the professional ranks. And then a guy like Sean Clifford, who honestly, I know a lot of Penn State fans have been callous in terms of like, hey, we saw what Veilleux could do. Alar's coming, time to hit the bricks. I love the way you put it in one of our last episodes in terms of Sean Clifford's earned the right to call his shot of whether or not he's coming back, and coming back as the starter for the Penn State football team. Whether I believe as a fan I want that or not is really not the point that I'm trying to make, is that I think people need to show a little bit more freaking appreciation for what Sean Clifford did, as you mentioned, over 30 starts in his career, navigating through some extraordinarily challenging seasons and playing with a lot of talented guys, and some high hopes that just unfortunately weren't there. But I felt bad for him, because the dude, I can only imagine what he's experienced. Injuries, illness, the doubters, people talking from the outside, people like us talking about him every single week. When you watched him play, and if we did watch his last regular season game as a Penn State Nittany Lion, what are you going to think of when you think of Sean Clifford's career?
Yeah, he did a lot of great things. Definitely a great leader for Penn State. It really seems like the team rallied around him. Played the game with a lot of emotion. You could tell he took his preparation very seriously. Understood the game plan. Was tough, man. It takes a tough guy to play quarterback at Penn State, and tough guy to play quarterback in the Big Ten. And, he did a great job of that. Obviously, I think you said it already. It has to be frustrating for him, because I don't want to say it was a missed opportunity, because that's not fair, Tom. But it's just, I think it was just unfortunate that he got injured in that Iowa game, and it was handled the way it was handled, and he wasn't the same after that. So I think that's what's difficult about it. Because you look at it and you look at the first, 5 weeks or so of the season and you think, boy, he could have had a really, really good year. If he stayed healthy, if he didn't play in the Illinois game, he took the 2 weeks off, he came back and he was, he was fully healthy, heading into Ohio State. But yeah, what's next is huge. Again, he deserves to have that sit down with Mike Yursich and James Franklin and talk about his future, about coming back for a sixth year. And see, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out moving forward. If he has a sixth year, right? With this whole,
because of COVID.
But that's what I'm saying. Could you transfer and play at another school?
Theoretically, I believe you could.
Who knows? Who knows, man? Imagine.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not a reporter, but I think that's the case.
Well, there's so many crazy rules now in college football like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's hard to keep up with a lot of them. So, I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking now, imagine if he has a meeting with, Yursich and Franklin. They're like, hey, listen, we appreciate everything you've done, but we're going to move forward with Veyu and Drew Alar.
You can do anything in college sports. J.R. Smith is playing golf
that's
at
crazy.
NCA&T right now. I believe that's the name of the school. I hope I have that correct. But you can do anything.
Yeah. But again, imagine if he wants to come back for a sixth year, Penn State decides to head into a different direction. He transfers to another school.
Crazier things have happened. You mentioned what's next. So not to get ahead of ourselves, obviously, Penn State is bowl eligible, so we very well could see Sean Clifford playing in a bowl game for Penn State. Last season, clearly things went completely off the rails. 4-5 finish, middle of the pandemic. 2020 was a disaster for plenty of schools, so Penn State was called mercy on the season, even though they were bowl eligible, and just declined a bowl invitation. That's not the expectation this year. I believe a 7-5 finish. There's enough pride in this program, and there's a lot of seniors that James Franklin will probably want to reward them with the opportunity. We are going to have to wait about a week's time to find out what bowl game Penn State is in. Obviously, the conference championship games are going to go down this Saturday. Some of the early projections are the Pinstripe Bowl, the Music City Bowl, and the Las Vegas Bowl. Some opponents that I've seen thrown out there, and again, this is by pundits, prognosticators, sports media outlets, etc. So none of this is official by any means. I've seen Louisville, Missouri, Arkansas, Virginia, yada, 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 thrown out there as opportunities. Arizona State as well.
Yeah, UCLA. I've seen UCLA.
So and that's a lot of people just kind of guessing based on where teams have fallen. Do you hope to see Penn State in a bowl game? Do you think the program places value on a bowl game this season?
Well, it should, because it gives your players another opportunity to play another game, which you only get a certain amount of games of playing time, in your college career. So, absolutely, I look forward to seeing them playing a bowl game. Of the bowls that you just mentioned, I'd like to see the Vegas Bowl, just because I think that one has the most wow factor to it. Right? You know what I mean? Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium Bowl kind of hides the fact you're 7-5. You could play in Arizona State, play a UCLA, Pac-12, Big Ten. Again, Vegas, Allegiant Stadium, brand new, massive stadium, Raiders home field. Again, I think that can, make a big impact for them. And again, you tend to forget that they're 7-5 playing in, a bowl like that. So we'll see.
I saw one projection that was potentially Penn State and Virginia in the Pinstripe Bowl. And part of me died inside, because watching Virginia, I would rather watch a service academy team than watch Virginia play football. Spare me. And then it becomes, as a fan, where would you rather go? Would you rather go to New York City in the middle or the end of December? Or would you rather take a nice trip to Vegas or a nice trip to Nash Vegas? You have your options.
Well, that again, that's what I'm saying. Like, again, that kind of hides, the struggles that this team has faced this season, the close games, the losses. I'm not sure how much, Penn State has in it, or James Franklin or anything like that. But if it were me, I would be pushing for a bowl game like that.
So speaking of James Franklin, let's look back one more time here on the year that was. I'm sure we'll do that again after the bowl game, and it's going to be consistent. But looking back on the 2021 season, what do you believe will define this 2021 season in history?
Yeah, I think it's the Iowa game. I really do, because it has that what if moment to it, right? You're rolling. You beat a good Auburn team who just went toe to toe with Alabama, right? You beat a Wisconsin team who really was dominating until, you get upset by Minnesota. And they would have given Michigan a better game than I think Iowa was going to give them. Mm-hmm. But I think you look at, it's that Iowa game. You're rolling in that game on the road against, at the time, the number 2 team in the nation, one of the better defenses in the country. Sean Clifford is playing the best football we've seen him play at Penn State. The offense is clicking, really explosive in the pass game. He gets hurt. Again, I've talked about it before. The situation was handled wrong, and you couldn't recover from it. Right? You lose the Illinois game, you lose the Ohio State game. You struggled. You struggle in situational football all year, struggle in short yardage goal line moments, things like that. You lose to Michigan State on the road. Again, it's a frustrating season and it's a frustrating year. It's just a tough year, again, because I don't want to say it's a missed opportunity. I don't want to say it's a lost year, because that's not fair to the players, right? That's not fair to the fans. Those kids played in those games. They prepared for those games. They played tough in those games. But it's almost, what if, right? You're close. Mm-hmm. You're that close. You're just not there.
I agree with you in terms of the turning point on the field. The turning point off the field, I think, is 100% the events of this past week. Mm-hmm. James Franklin's contract extension plus the stimulus package, as I'm phrasing it, for the football program. You hope that is enough. Now, obviously, as I mentioned before, and I encourage people to read up on James Franklin's contract on their own, it's a very James Franklin-friendly contract. So this is going to be a very long process of seeing where it goes from here. What is the continued tolerance of the athletic department and the Penn State University administration with James Franklin's on-field win-loss percentage? He's now coached 100 games, and he is 67-33 overall. He is 11-10 overall in his last 2 seasons, and he is 8-10 in the Big Ten in his last 2 seasons. And I thought a very interesting statistic provided by our own good friend Mike Poorman from statecollege.com. How it started: James Franklin's first 26 games, 14-12. How it's going: his last 26 games, 14-12. So it appears we've gone up and come down again.
Here's the last thing I'll say about it. James Franklin said the future is bright. You're in year 8. You're not in year 2 or 3, bro. You are in the future. And if I was a player and you're talking about the future, that would drive me crazy, man, because I am here now. Right? I don't care about the future. I don't care. I talked about it last week. I don't care that you're making the weight room bigger and all stuff like that. Yeah, that's nice and all. That's great. But I'm here now and I'm trying to win now, man. And we lost 5 games this year. So what are we doing right now to fix that?
On the positive side, based on paper, it appears there is an excellent recruiting class coming into Penn State. We will see if that comes to fruition. And if we're all fortunate, there is a bowl game coming up, and we'll see what is decided on that front by Penn State and where they land. And hopefully they accept it, because I'm with you. I would like to see a lot of these players get another opportunity out there, whether it's just to play one more time in a Penn State uniform or to bolster their status if they try and move on to the professional ranks. So obviously, with Penn State not playing this weekend, we do not have a Friday edition of Paydirt. We will be back this coming Monday, hopefully to discuss some news with you guys about what the bowl situation is for Penn State. And we're just going to hopefully put a bow on this season and go from there. But we're excited for the month of December and January, rolling into the holiday. We're going to have some more guests coming on to the show. As we've mentioned, Matt's going to be away on some paternity leave in January. So we're going to bank a bunch of episodes with some of your favorite names and personalities throughout the history of Penn State football. Again, please send us messages on social media, comment on this on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, and let us know who you'd like to hear from. We've had some awesome guests so far, and we're going to keep digging into that. So thank you all for tuning in, for liking, commenting, subscribing, and turning on notifications. I'm Tom Hannifan. He's Matt McGloin, and we'll see you Monday for another edition of Paydirt.